Hey, g'day, it's Preso. Crikey, it's a milestone. That's right, it's 15,000 subscribers. It's actually 15,500, but who's counting? But step this way, my friend, if I got a deal for you. Well, here is the deal. Now, I've been sent a box full of goodies from a company called TouchDRO. Now, you may recall, if you've been watching my channel for some time, that I fitted one of these TouchDRO units to my Bridgeport mill. And I'll put a link for that video above. You can go back and check that out if you like. And at the time, I was looking for a sort of a low budget solution for DRO on my mill. Now, I'd never heard of TouchDRO before, and one of my viewers put me onto it. I did a bit of a Google search and came up with two websites. Now, one of them is called TouchDRO, and I'll put a link in the description below. And the other one is for Yuri's Toys. Now, Yuri runs both those websites, and they each serve a different function. But what he's actually done is he sent me a whole bunch of these units. And the backstory to this is that I wanted to buy this TouchDRO unit for my mill, and I got in touch with Yuri and told him that I was thinking about building a kit and how much it was going to cost and so on. And he agreed to give me the unit for free. Now, the reason for that was that he'd been watching my videos prior to me contacting him. And at the time, I declined the free, the free kit, and he convinced me to actually buy the pre-assembled board. Now, you can see the board inside that little 3D printed case there. So this unit comes to you already assembled, and it works straight out of the box. And that saved a lot of work for me. And I declined to get the unit for free for a number of reasons. Now, just to put this into context, when I started my YouTube channel, I did not want to make any money out of it. That wasn't why I set it up. The reason I set it up was that I wanted to be able to archive a lot of the projects that I build. And that's why they're always in a narrative style. So it's just an end-to-end process of me making a thing in the workshop. And I didn't think it was good enough to ask people to pay for it. And for that reason, I don't have any YouTube advertising on my channel. I haven't monetized any of my videos, and I don't have a Patreon. So that gives me a little bit of freedom to do what I want, say what I want, and use whatever tools and equipment I want. And I'm not sort of beholden to anybody else about the content that I create. Now, I'd be very interested to find out from anybody who has seen an advertisement on any of my videos. Now, I don't see them when I watch my own videos, but that could be because I own the channel. So if you watch any of my videos and you see any advertising, please let me know in the comments. I don't know what I can do about it because I haven't enabled any process for that to happen. Now, getting back to this stuff, when Yuri contacted me just recently, he said he got a lot of referrals from new customers to buy the TouchDRO system. And as a thank you, he said he'd send me some stuff which I could then give away as prizes for this 15,000 subscriber draw. And the timing was perfect. It just worked out. So I said, yes, I'd be more than happy to accept some of these units because I wasn't keeping them, I'm not selling them, I'm giving them away. And when this parcel turned up, I was blown away. I was expecting just 3 of these little boards with the eye gauging style connectors. But instead, he's actually sent me about 5 of each. And these are both the eye gauging style boards and also the boards for glass scales. Now, there's also 3D printed cases, there's some laser cut cases, and I'll pull this stuff out shortly and we'll have a close look at it. But first, let's go and have a look at what I've done on the Bridgeport, and we'll look at the difference it makes between this board, which I paid for and bought, and one of the new ones that Yuri has sent me. Right, well, this is the new 3D printed case that I made for this board. Now, it's slightly bigger than the old board, that's why I had to make the new case. Now, you can actually download the STL files for this case from Yuri's website, and I'll put a link in the description for that below as well. And it's just beautifully made. The board just slots into it, and it's held together with 4 M3 screws. Now, each of the 4 scales is plugged into a micro USB port underneath here, and this is the power supply which is just a standard phone charger. Now the little the plate in the front there is actually laser etched from some plastic, 2-ply plastic that I purchased recently, and it just makes a nice, compact, well-designed little unit. Now there are a lot of changes in this new board. The one that I'm using here is version 1. Now there's a subsequent version that's come out which is 1.1. But the most important thing with this is how stable this display is now. Now with the old board that I was using, it was good, but you would have seen a lot of flickering with these digits. Now you might see on this one here, which is the Z, or the Z scale for the quill, that it's flicking between 7 and 8, I think, hundredths of a millimeter. Now that's got nothing to do with this unit here, that's to do with the capacitive scale. So when the read head is just on the boundary between one capacitive section and the next, it sort of flickers backwards and forwards. But in general, this is super stable now compared to the old one that I was using. Now here's some footage of me cranking the handles on the old unit, and what you might notice is that every now and then it flickers to some irrelevant unit. So it might be reading 12.1, 12.2, and then for no reason at all it'll throw up a digit like 132 and then goes back. Now what Yuri has done is he's implemented some changes at the hardware and the firmware level to basically throw out all those irrelevant dimensions or all those irrelevant readings. So they're called outliers. So the system recognizes that it's showing an outlier dimension and it just ignores it. Just to demonstrate one thing that often comes up when people watch these videos on TouchDRO, and that is that there's always some lag between moving the scale and what shows on the screen here. Now this is actually nothing to do with TouchDRO, that's just an inherent function of these capacitive style scales. So there's always some lag. So just to demonstrate, let's move the quill, and I'm choosing this one because we can move very quickly. So stop cranking, and you see the display takes a while to actually settle down. So there it is now at 98.15. We'll move it again, and it usually takes 1 or 2 readings before it settles on a dimension. Now I've actually checked with a dial indicator, and it is showing the correct dimension here, but you do get that little issue with it sometimes lagging behind slightly, especially when you crank the scale very quickly. But in general, this is now performing beautifully. I'm really happy with it, and I'm going to keep this unit. Why not? So it's a big improvement for me, so I might as well hang on to that one. But there's still plenty more. There's still plenty to give away. Now I should add, if you decide to go down this road of using TouchDRO as a system on your machine, you would need to provide your own Android tablet or phone as a display. Now this little box here communicates with that tablet via Bluetooth. The Bluetooth setup is very quick and intuitive. You only need to do it once. Once that's been done, it's just a tap on the screen to make the connection, or sometimes it actually happens automatically. You would also need to work out what sort of scales you would like to use on your machine. Now glass scales are a little bit more complicated to set up. They require more accurate alignment than these. The eye gauging type scales that I'm using are slim and compact, very easy to set up, but the downside is that they have that very slight flicker. Now if you can live with that, that's fine. And it really comes down to budget and how much work you want to do to install those scales. So let's head over to the bench now. Let's have a closer look at each one of these circuit boards and some of the features. Okay, here's just a close-up view of the 3 boards. Now this is the one that I purchased last year, and I purchased this for eye gauging capacitive style scales. You can also use generic capacitive scales with these units, and they work just fine. Now this is the new version of the same thing, so you can see that it is slightly bigger. Essentially though, it has exactly the same functionality. So there's 4 USB-C connectors here for the 4 scales, so that's X, Y, Z and W. And if you've got a mill with a quill on it, you can use you can use the scale for the knee and for the quill, and it does axis summing. So in other words, it adds together the movement of the quill and the knee. Both of these units have a standard 5-volt input, which is just basically a phone charger. They also have pins for a tachometer and a probe. Now with the tachometer, you can use a Hall effect sensor, and either one or two or more magnets attached to the spindle of the machine, and it will read the RPM of that spindle and it will display that on the app. Now on my machine I've got a vari-speed head, so I don't need that functionality. It just I can read the RPM directly off the front of the machine. But if you've got any other style of mill, that would be a really handy function to have. So there are connectors here for both the probe and the tachometer, if that's what you need. And it would just be a matter of soldering pins in there and putting connectors in, and away you go. But there's also down here, there's provision for headers which allow you to connect the version 1.1 of this board to quadrature style scales. So they're glass scales. So from what I understand, this unit here will do both capacitive, magnetic and glass scales if you put the correct headers in there. And I think there's a firmware upgrade that you need to install as well. But unfortunately on this version 1 board it doesn't do that, but these are great for the capacitive style displays, or scales I should say. Here's a close-up view of the other board. Now this one is set up specifically for glass scales, or Yuri calls them quadrature style scales. Now this one has 4 axes, so X, Y, Z and W. It also has provision for a probe and a tachometer. And down this edge of the board here there are holes for pins which allow you to fit limit switches to your machine. Now you might say, why do I need limit switches on a manual mill or lathe? And the reason is that if for any reason you were to lose power to the mill or to the TouchDRO unit, all you have to do is to home the machine. So you would crank, say for example, the X-axis all the way along until it was to trigger a micro switch. As long as that micro switch is connected to ground, it will automatically zero your scale in that position. And if you were to do that to all the axes, you have effectively homed the machine. And then as long as you're working in absolute units, you can find your way back to your workpiece and go from there. So that's a very, very handy function to have. Unfortunately, it's not on the smaller board, the one that's set up for the magnetic scales or capacitive scales. But if you've already got glass scales on your machine, that would be a handy function to have. So there it is. Now remember, I've got multiple copies of both of these boards. There are going to be 3 winners. You'll let me know which one you want. I'll send you whichever version you want anywhere in the world, free of charge. It's my gift to you, my loyal viewers. So yeah, it should be good. Okay, in summary, this is how this is going to work. Now I'm going to leave this prize draw open for 3 weeks. Now that's 3 weeks from the date that this video goes public. So check the publication date and you've got 3 weeks to indicate whether you'd like to be part of the draw. Now I'm also going to limit this to subscribers because I want to reward the people who've been with me on this channel for a long time. Now if you're not a subscriber yet, you can do that now and you are eligible for the draw. But it just reduces the pool of people in the draw, and that way I am rewarding those people who stick with me. Now, to be part of the draw, what you need to do is to leave a comment on today's video, on this video, and I want you to start the comment with the name of my milling machine. Now here's a clue. So you would name that milling machine and then you would leave a comment after that, and that will indicate to me that you want to be part of the draw. Now, I understand that not everybody owns a machine that's suitable for this system. Not everybody wants or needs a DRO in their workshop, but if you do, you can be part of this. So your comment might be something like, Bridgeport, and then you would follow on and say, Mark is the second most handsome machinist on YouTube.
Sample comment only, actual comments may vary. Written and authorized by Handsome Machinists Association.
And of course we all know who the most handsome machinist is, don't we? Now, once I see all of the comments and that 3-week period is up, I'm going to use one of those random draw generators or whatever they're called, and I'll limit the pool of people to subscribers, as I say. Now, if you are a winner, contact me via the email address that's on your screen now, and we can work out which of those TouchDRO units you want, and then we can work out how to get it to you. Now, I'll send it to you free of charge anywhere in the world. Now, there's more. Now, I've got a total of 7 of these units to give away, and I'm doing 3 as the prize draw. Now, the other 4 I'm going to give away to Aussie YouTube creators. So if you have your own YouTube channel, you live in Australia, I'll even leave it open to those honorary Australians, the New Zealanders. But if you're an Anzac presenter and you'd like one of these units, get in touch with me again via that email address and we can work out how I can get it to you. Now the deal would be that you take that unit, you do your own video and you present it on your own channel, and then you can give some sort of indication whether you think it's any good or not. So Craig, Maddie, Cam, Emma, John, and there's lots more that I've left out, but if you're an Aussie or a New Zealander creator and you'd like one, get in touch and we can do a deal. So it'll be free of charge, I'll send it to you and you work out how you want to use that. Okay, I think I got through everything. I just hope I haven't missed anything out here. So that's all for now. I'm going to see you in 3 weeks if I don't see you before that, and we'll do this draw. And I've got some really exciting projects coming up. Now there's one in the pipeline that's almost ready to publish. There's another one that I'm going to start soon that's going to be fantastic. Now there's another one that I can't even talk about because I signed a non-disclosure agreement about it, but that's going to come up soon as well. So lots more in the pipeline. It's all diverse, different, interesting stuff. So that's it. It's Preso signing out for now. See you in 3 weeks' time. Cheers.